Okay, people. I got to thinking because one of my email contacts, well, I pester him. He did pester me. Well, not pester. He'd sent a bunch of links, but that kind of eased off. So I guess he thought he got us caught up. I was on a list with quite a few other people. Well, I still communicate him. You know, when I think I find something I should send, I send. If he jumps my cage, he jumps my cage. You know what I'm saying? So, this last thing, which brings us to why we're on this particular website anyway, is there's this great big deal about veterans and involuntary chips, microchips, or implants. Okay? Uh, the government had just allotted a whole lot of money for study, and there would be human and animal study. Well, I posted on that on my Facebook because I, tend to try to keep up with that kind of thing because there's also the Obama Brain Initiative. It's not covered on here that I know of. I didn't see anything about it, but I knew about this story for quite a while. This guy recovered memories, which are implants. Whoops, pop up. Which was another thing I was going to discuss with the contact about emails, but anyway, let me go on with one or the other. I'm hyperactive, okay? Hyperactive and bipolar, so go figure. He recovered memories from military service time on Mars. And there's this book. Well, it's not only on this website here, it's on this website. Okay? And I was emailing my contact this. Well, I hadn't emailed it yet. I was considering emailing my contact this particular info because it connects to the fact that yesterday morning, excuse me, I couldn't bring myself quite yet because his last email to me was if I had proof of any such thing as involuntary implants of veterans. Well, I was calling them coercive implants. That I should let him know. Okay, but when I set up the other morning, first thing in the morning, one of my first thoughts was about implants. Implants don't necessarily mean microchip implants. You see what I'm saying? Implants could also mean implanted memories, memory overlay, which deduces down to brainwashing. So, knowing they have done that in the past, and if they did it in the past and nobody's standing over them with a iron claw, not making them do, not letting them do that anymore, they could still be doing it. There could be still cases of that, slipping through the wires, slipping through the cracks. So, I got on here as soon as I got motivated and got my coffee yesterday morning and found this again because I'd read it, like maybe a couple years or so ago. And I was going to bring this up to my contact. And I thought, well, let me do some more looking before I do because he's a stickler. Okay, he's a well-renowned stickler. So before I bother him actually with that, email containing what if, what if information that to me is just, would be considered hearsay. I'm going to go over this some more because even though they're saying they're microchip implants, and of course from that there's other sizes. They're the macro ones, and they're those ones that we've seen pictures of on the net that look like little tiny pieces of glitter. Like they'd be the size of, like, a little bit bigger than that period at the end of that sentence right there. If I could highlight it, I would. It's not wanting to highlight for some reason. Anyway, you know what a piece of glitter looks like. Well, those in the smart dust are those implants that you can just breathe in. They can put it in your food, your drink, breathe it in. Maybe they're thinking open brain surgery or an actual metallic microchip like device, or like the one the size of the piece of rice, which would be like about the length of 2 letters on this page. A little piece of rice. If I can find the word is or to, there, in, like right there. They're about the size, maybe a little longer. Just breathe it in. Well, Hibachi, is that the name? The Japanese company that I saw in connection with the smart dust, little tiny, that they put in, and you breathe it, or it can get on your skin and get rubbed into an open wound. Okay? Implants don't have to be what your first image when you think of it is, because they've come a long way, baby. In that regard, they have really shrunk them down to about the size of a piece of glitter, and they don't have to do open brain surgery to get them in there. Part of the veterans' lawsuit was that they didn't get informed consent. You've got to have informed consent signed by someone you want to do a job of guinea pig for you, whatever it is. Whether it's testing eye makeup, or, if you're in a professional department somewhere and you want them to try your cooking, if they're going to be a guinea pig and you're experimenting, you've got to give them that power of knowledge. Okay? Well, these veterans that had that lawsuit against the government, and I won't say what department because I'm kind of leery of it anyhow. This whole disclosure thing's kind of strange, but they weren't given that. A lot of them were mentally disabled to begin with, impaired. They had brain damage and didn't understand it, and this, that, and the other thing. Or somebody just said, well, here's a guy laying here, he's been plugged into every life support, laying in the VA for umpteen years and couple decades or whatever. Nobody comes to see him, blah, 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 blah. Why don't we just try this out on him and see if we can, give him a cochlear implant and see if we can get these limbs moving. Well, somebody's got to have informed consent, whether it's a next of kin, or whether it's that guy himself, or his carekeeper, or his caseworker. Somebody has to approve it. I mean, you just can't go around because you see a drunk laying in your alleyway and think, oh, this is a good person to try an experiment on, because no, that is totally, totally not only wrong, but unethical and illegal. So That's why I was getting these couple of websites open to try to find out some of these questions, because it's going to go back to implants not necessarily having to be a physical object. It can be memory implant, which isn't physical. It isn't, the size of a grain of rice object that hooks up to some central computer and is run from some uh, top secret government somewhere. It doesn't have to be that one, because I know sometimes before I started reading all this stuff, that's the kind of thing that my mind would conjure up. You know, the mad scientist type of scenario, um, which isn't it anymore. It's very well. It's a lot more mainstream. I was going to say very mainstream, but it's it's still a fringe thing. If you ask me, it's a fringe, because when I wrote an email the other day to this guy that ran this website, asking straight up in as best English as I knew how, he kind of snapped back at me. I didn't think he was very tactful about it. To say, well, I get that question at least once a year. It's right up there is the moon made of green cheese? Go put on your tinfoil hat and maybe these thoughts will leave, right? Which is just rude, because I was reading on their website, because he linked one of the websites in his email signature, so I clicked it. It was a law help website for families of veterans and vets. And I looked on one of the pages and found out they like to pride themselves in catering to minorities. And they mentioned the sexual minorities that they, don't have any problem with, and people who wear tinfoil hats, and I know some of them, and they're decent people. They've got their thing about what they think, so they're a minority as well. And just because they're not a sexual minority, they're still a minority as far as that goes, because not everyone wears tinfoil hats. In fact, most of the world doesn't wear tinfoil hats. So where's their understanding and acceptance of that group? So it could be turned clear around on that guy who I didn't even answer this last time, because he smarted off to me, even after I told him that if he replied again I was going to turn him in. Because he's supposed to be an advocate. Advocates are supposed to take your side, not turn on you and show you teeth and growl like he did. So that upset me too. And it was a hell of a day even before that, because one of my contacts was making videos about committing suicide with Valium, and another contact was cutting her hair off to show the Ministry of Children and Families in Canada that she meant business. So I mean, I was having this hell of a day, and then Bradley last night had to get up and run someone to the hospital for a nervous breakdown. And when I got up this morning, I came in the front room. I was going to come on in here, and I saw the door chain hanging, so I looked in his room. He wasn't there. He wasn't on the couch. So I called him or text or whatever to find out where he was. 4 something a.m. I don't know what woke me up, but he was on his way home. He was like 8 miles from home when that happened. So I just sat there with a coffee or whatever it was, soda, and waited for him to come in. Well, now he's not feeling well. He's got a sick stomach, and I'm about to run out of time because, well, I didn't want to risk $15 right now to get this upgraded to Pro, even though Bradley told me not too long ago that I could go ahead and do that. It wasn't going to, make or break us at this point as far as money is concerned. But I guess I'll catch you in the next video, because this is almost done. 3, 2,